Hi, today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you should do as a PTO leader to stay out of the fray of like really hot button issues that come up at school. And there's been a couple different events that I thought, people reach out and said, Christina, can you please like chime in on this because I feel like we just need to hear what you're going to say about this. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll come on because it's actually happened to me. So the two things that kind of prompted this was one was the Parkland shooting in Florida, where the suggestion from our president was just to arm teachers. And I know a whole heck of a lot of teachers who don't wish that to be. And there were talks of teacher walkouts and teacher protests. And there's also the student walkout and protests. And the second issue is also the West Virginia teacher strike that's happening right now. And I haven't checked the news today to see if it's been resolved. I hope it's resolved very quickly because that strike is never good for anybody. But it can really both of those situations can really put PTO leaders in a big pickle. Especially if boundaries are not respected. So I kind of just want to chime in because I have had direct experience with the contract negotiation / strike situation, but it's the same information. It's the same advice I've given in either situation. Again, they're both very, very tricky. So my number one piece of advice is to be really clear if so this is a situation, let's say, I'll give you a real life situation. So there was a contract negotiation between our district administration and the teachers were really upset because they felt like the parents weren't really getting involved either way, and they wanted the PTA to get involved and come out in a big way and support the teachers, where kind of in the middle, we're supporting both. We have to be supporting both. So there were specific requests from teachers for the PTA to come out and support them in the negotiations. But my personal feeling was that, the PTA as a whole, you should not be doing that. Like the PTA or PTO is there to advocate for primarily the students first and also the teachers, but it's also just to kind of make the whole school environment better. And you never want to insert you personally as a parent or you as the PTO you don't want to get in there and be in those kind of wedge discussions and wedge deliberations. Like you really want to stay out of the fray as much as possible. And so you can do that by just being really open and honest. If a teacher happens to say you need to come out with a position saying that you totally support the teachers, and you can say, I don't feel that's appropriate right now. That might be misconstrued. In this particular situation, the teachers union had not the best leadership. And so their members were not very informed about what was going on or why it was happening. And there were a lot of misconceptions. So I just referred them back and said, you really need to talk to your union leadership about this, and that the PTA, cannot be helping you with this. And one of my very best friends was actually the PTA president when the negotiations were going on. And in our district, they got really nasty, really nasty. I'm not going to get into the nastiness because there's way too much nastiness in the world, but got really nasty. And she felt really uncomfortable because the teachers kept coming up to her and kept talking to her about it. And I told her, I said, you got to get out of the building. Just don't be there. If these teachers cannot respect the fact that you are a parent and that you are in the middle, and it's kind of like mom and dad fighting, if you will, you just got to get out of the building. So that would be my second piece of advice is first to stay neutral and just say, I understand, I hear you, but we cannot move as a PTO, as a whole. And, I'm not willing to move as an individual parent on this, or I have to look into it. I know sometimes you get into a tricky situation where you feel pressured to do something or say something, to say, let me look into this and get back to you. And then maybe you don't get back to them, or you can write them an email, which is a little bit easier than face-to-face, and say, hey, look, I'm just not able to do what you asked right now. I hope this gets resolved really quickly for everybody. So 1, stay neutral. 2, get out of the building. Like it takes a lot of chutzpah for somebody to like email you or call you and be inappropriate. If you're if you're there and accessible, they might think it's a little easier to be like, hey, and just kind of sidle on up to you and then ask you about something that seems benign and then really get into it. I know in the negotiation example, I personally was asked when I was like dropping something off in the morning during the morning rush with like, I was in the kindergarten hallway, there are all these little bodies around me. And it was a teacher friend, and she just asked me, did you know what's going on with stuff? And I'm like, I kind of knew what was going on. And I was like, yeah, I know what's going on, and it's going to get resolved. It'll be fine. And I just kind of was like, oh, I can't talk to you right now. So just make up a good excuse. But whatever you can do, I would totally encourage you to not take a stance as a PTO, especially when it comes to teacher strike stuff, because that's not your job. And you can just say, that's not the PTO's role here. You need to go sort that out with the administration. The administration needs to talk with you, but this is not something for the PTO to get involved with. Similarly with like political things, like I mentioned with like the whole resulting discussions and conversations, I'm trying to stay right down the middle, if you can tell, with what happened after the Parkland response. Again, if you personally feel one way, that's great, and you can advocate or not advocate depending on how you feel. But you should be really clear, if you do choose to do that, your parent hat is on, and that it's not the PTO hat, and that you're not speaking on behalf of the PTO. So you want to be super clear and qualify everything you say, saying, now you realize this is me as Christina. This is not me as PTO president Christina. It's parent Christina. Like, just be super clear, and that should help you stay out of the fray. It won't mean that people aren't going to get upset with you because you're not supporting them and they just feel like you need to be supporting them, but they can get over themselves, and you need to preserve yourself and preserve your position as a PTO leader. So and I hope this is really helpful, because this is like really touchy, and it's really, these are both the examples I used are like really, really hard, really, really hard. So just stay neutral and kind of keep your distance until it shakes out one way or the other. That would be my best advice on that one. So I hope this is helpful. My biggest wish is that you never need to use this advice. That would be like really awesome if everything would just work out. But in the event that you do find yourself being called upon as a PTO to take a position, listen to my advice and take it. So thanks for watching. And I should say, if you are not already part of the PTO Superstar Leader group, join me on Inside, won't you? We have like almost 3,100 other fabulous leaders with such great ideas, and we want to talk with you and meet you in there. So please come in and join us there. So again, good luck with all of your PTO stuff, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.